In the Hartley family, there was one name no one ever said out loud, not at the dinner table, not at the funerals, of which there had by now been several. For 60 years, three sisters passed a single gold locket between them, and inside it was the photograph of a young woman not one of them could name. They never asked whose face it was. In some families, the not asking is its own kind of inheritance. Like the box we opened last time, some things in a family stay closed for a reason, and the reason is almost never the one you would guess. I've watched a good many of these lockets get open in this town over the years. The story is never really about the gold. Ruth was the eldest. She was 81 the winter she finally set the locket on the kitchen table between her two younger sisters, Della, 78, and Joan, 74, and said the thing none of them had ever said. We should know who she is, before we're the ones in the frame. The locket was small, worn smooth at the edges by 3 generations of thumbs. It opened the way it always had, stiff, with a soft click. And there she was, a young woman, perhaps 20, dark-eyed, half smiling at someone just past the edge of the photograph. Their mother had worn this locket every single day of her life and had never, not once, said the name of the face inside it. Each of the sisters had quietly carried her own version of who she was. Ruth had always assumed the worst, a first wife, some woman their father had loved before their mother, a scandal folded into gold and kept out of spite. Della had decided long ago it was a friend who died young, and Joan, the romantic of the three, had been certain for years that it was their mother herself in some lost and glamorous youth they'd simply never been shown. They were all wrong. But that is the thing about a secret kept long enough. Everyone fills the silence with the story they are most afraid of. The Hartley sisters had spent 60 years quietly bracing for a betrayal that had never been there at all. There's a detail most people miss. On the back of the little photograph, in pencil gone soft and grey with the years, there was no name. Just a date, too faded to fully read, and a single letter beside it. The letter was E. Ruth took the photograph to the one man in town who might know, old Mr. Pruitt, who has worked the Ashford post office for 50 years, and who has spent half a century sorting other people's history into little brass pigeonholes. He remembers the faces this town has long since forgotten. He held it up to the window and looked at it for a long time. Then he said the thing that changed the shape of the whole afternoon. "That's no stranger," he told her. "Look at the jaw. Look at the way she holds her chin. You've been carrying your own mother's sister." Their mother had had a sister, a twin, and in 81 years of living, no one had ever told Ruth that her quiet, careful mother had once been one of 2. Her name was Esther, and the reason no one ever said it was not a scandal, and it was not spite. It was simpler than that, and a great deal heavier. Esther died at 20, a fever, one hard winter, in the years before the medicine that would have carried her through it. The 2 girls had been identical, the kind of identical where their own mother mixed them up at the door, where they finished each other's sentences out of habit as much as love. And when Esther died, the young woman who would one day become the sister's mother was left looking every morning for the rest of her life at a face in the mirror that had belonged to both of them. Sit with that for a moment. To grieve a twin is to grieve in a mirror. Every birthday was both of theirs. Every photograph of herself was half a photograph of the sister in the ground. She could not say the name Esther, because to say it out loud in a warm room was to feel the silence where an answer used to come. So she didn't say it, not to her husband, not to her 3 daughters. She folded her twin into a locket the size of a thumbnail, and she wore her over her heart for 60 years, and she let her whole family believe the quiet was simply the way she was made. What the daughters had read all their lives as coldness was something else entirely. Their mother had not been a closed woman. She had been a woman carrying a grief so large and so private that she'd grown her entire quiet self around the shape of it, the way a tree grows around a stone, until you can hardly tell the wound from the trunk. It was Della who found the last of it. She held the locket up to the kitchen light and turned the case over, and there, on the inside, almost worn away by 60 years of a thumb passing over it, were 2 sets of initials, scratched by a girl's hand a lifetime ago. 2, side by side. Their mother had not been hiding a stranger from them. She had been keeping the 2 of them together, the only way she had left to do it. The 3 sisters sat at that table a long while after that. Outside, the light went down slow over the river. Nobody cried, exactly. It was somewhere past crying. It was that strange, warm ache of finally understanding a person you were sure you'd known your whole life, a little too late to tell her so. Ruth was the one who said it. All those years, and we thought she was just quiet. And Joan, who had been the closest to right without ever knowing it, said, she was. She was being quiet for 2. So they had a second locket made, a small one, plain. Inside it they put a photograph of the 3 of them, taken that same winter at the kitchen table. 3 old women and 1 secret finally set down. And they gave it to Ruth's granddaughter, who is 19 now, with a single instruction. Say the names. Whoever ends up in here, say their names out loud. Don't ever make the next one guess. So that was the name no one would say. Not a rival, not a shame. A sister, loved so hard that losing her took the words clean out of a woman's mouth for the rest of her days. Some silences are walls. This one was an embrace held for 60 years and only set down when 3 old women finally turned the locket over and read what their mother had been telling them all along. Most families have a name like that, a subject that goes quiet the moment it comes up, a chair nobody quite sits in, a year nobody mentions. You probably know which one is yours. And maybe, like the Hartleys, you've spent a long time filling that silence with the worst thing you could imagine. You don't have to. You could just turn the locket over and look. There's more in Ashford than one locket can hold. Down at Eleanor's diner, on the corner, there's a man who comes in every morning and orders 2 coffees and only ever drinks 1. The whole town has its theories about why. They're wrong too. We'll come back to them.